March 1944. The Hukong Valley, northern Burma. The jungle breathes with a humid stillness broken only by the distant rumble of machinery. A sound that does not belong here, among the ancient teak forests and mud-choked trails where armies move at the pace of centuries. Japanese infantry positions overlook a ravine where yesterday there was nothing but impassable wilderness. This morning, they wake to find a fully graded road carved through the mountainside, complete with drainage culverts and corduroy log surfaces spanning the wetlands below. The soldiers check their watches, their maps, their own sanity. 12 hours ago, this was jungle. Now it is infrastructure. For 3 years, the Japanese army had operated under a fundamental assumption about warfare in Southeast Asia: that the jungle itself was an ally. Their rapid conquest of Malaya, Singapore, and Burma in 1942 had relied on speed, light infantry tactics, and the calculated certainty that European and American forces could not match their mobility through impassable terrain. The roads they needed, they captured. The supplies they required, they carried on their backs or foraged from the land. Their military doctrine, forged in the mountains of China and the swamps of the Pacific, taught them that mechanized warfare withered in the tropics, that heavy equipment sunk into the mud, that the jungle rejected the industrial age. They had watched the British retreat in 1942, abandoning vehicles along impassable tracks, and they had learned what they believed was an eternal truth. In Burma, nature decided who could fight.
The Americans arrived with different ideas. In January 1944, Lieutenant General Joseph Stilwell's Chinese-American forces pushed into northern Burma with an objective that seemed fantastical: to build a road from India to China through some of the most hostile terrain on Earth. Behind the infantry came something the Japanese had never encountered in these proportions: the 330th Engineer Regiment, the 45th Engineer Regiment, units of the 209th Engineer Combat Battalion, battalions of Seabees, and thousands of African-American soldiers from segregated engineer units, all equipped with bulldozers, graders, portable sawmills, and a logistics system that could deliver 150 tons of construction equipment daily to the front lines. What the Japanese scouts reported back to their commanders seemed like propaganda or hallucination. The Americans were not just repairing roads, they were building them faster than the Japanese could advance. The Imperial Army had expected an enemy that would struggle, starve, and stall. They had expected supply lines to stretch and snap, for columns to bog down in the monsoon season, for the jungle to do what it had always done: devour foreign ambitions. Instead, they faced an opponent who treated the jungle as a construction site. American engineer battalions worked in 12-hour shifts around the clock, their bulldozers equipped with floodlights powered by portable generators. They blasted through hillsides with TNT, bridged rivers with prefabricated Bailey spans flown in by transport aircraft, and laid corduroy roads across swamps using freshly cut timber from portable mills that could process a tree from standing forest to milled plank in under 30 minutes. The road advanced at an average of 1 mile per day, sometimes 2 miles when conditions allowed. At night, Japanese patrols would mark the American positions, plot ambushes for the morning, and return at dawn to find the entire battlefield geometry had changed. The road had moved, the front had shifted. Supply dumps that should have taken weeks to establish were already operational. A Japanese officer's diary, recovered after the war from a position near Shadozup, captures the psychological impact. "We destroyed the bridge at dawn. By evening, they had built 2 more. We do not understand what we are fighting." The sentiment appears again and again in captured documents, not fear of American firepower, but bewilderment at American capacity. In the Japanese military philosophy, logistics was about efficiency, about doing more with less, about the spiritual strength to endure hardship. The American approach seemed wasteful, excessive, almost offensively abundant. Why use a bulldozer when men with shovels would suffice? Why build a road for trucks when soldiers could carry supplies? The answers revealed a chasm in ideology wider than the tactical gulf. The Americans built roads not because they lacked the endurance to march, but because they possessed the industrial means to choose comfort over suffering, and they chose it every time.
The bulldozer became the symbol of this incomprehensible abundance. Japanese soldiers, subsisting on rice balls and whatever they could scavenge, watched American engineer units accompanied by supply trucks carrying hot meals, tents, portable showers, and mail from home. Prisoners of war, interrogated about American capabilities, spoke not of superior tactics, but of endless material, of roads appearing overnight, of airstrips carved from jungle in 72 hours, of supply drops so routine they were scheduled like train service. One captured sergeant, asked how Americans could build so fast, replied simply, "They have a machine for everything." It was not an exaggeration. The U.S. Army fielded specialized equipment the Japanese had never conceived of. Portable crushers to make gravel, bituminous distributors to pave surfaces, angle dozers to cut precise grades. The Lido Road, as it came to be known, was not just a military route, but a demonstration of philosophy, that human ingenuity applied through industrial might could reshape reality itself. By the time the road reached the old Burma Road in January 1945, connecting India to China across 478 miles of what had been impassable wilderness, it had cost $150 million and required 15,000 engineers. It also shattered an illusion. The Japanese army in Burma, cut off from resupply as American and British forces closed in, found itself outflanked not by brilliant strategy, but by simple capacity. The capacity to move faster, build quicker, and supply more abundantly than their doctrine had prepared them to counter. They had trained to fight soldiers. They found themselves fighting an industrial system. In the years after the war, a Burmese villager who'd watched the road's construction told an interviewer, "The Japanese came with conquest. The Americans came with bulldozers. One destroyed, the other built, even while fighting." The distinction mattered. The Lido Road was never primarily about defeating the Japanese through construction. It was about proving that freedom, when backed by industrial democracy, could outpace tyranny not only in valor, but in sheer productive force. The jungle did not choose sides, but the side that brought the machines to move mountains, that side wrote the future. And the road, carved from wilderness in the shadow of war, remained long after the soldiers who built it had gone home. A monument not to victory in battle, but to victory in belief, that no obstacle, natural or human, could stand against a free people determined to build.